It's a big debate raging online right now surrounding the commentary related to Charlie Kirk's death. And a lot of people are accusing the right of engaging in cancel culture.
That is a fact check false.
Okay, cancel culture. Okay, and I feel uniquely qualified to weigh in on this. I wrote a New York Times best-selling book called The Cancel Culture Dictionary. And I'm not wading into these arguments online because I don't want it to look like I'm promoting the book. People are like, that's what you're doing now. No, I'm not. Shut up. Okay, all I'm going to tell you really quickly is that people were canceled for telling jokes, or mascots were canceled because they were out of line with popular sentiment of the time. All good and well. Nobody was canceled for celebrating the death of a political opponent. Do you want to know why? Because we were a better people when I wrote that book. Straight up. There's nobody in the... People got, like Don Imus called the Rutgers women's basketball team nappy-headed hoes.
What the hell did you just say?
Not ideal. Not good. Not a good comment. Okay, Gilbert Gottfried got fired for tweeting jokes about the tsunami that hit Japan. Do you remember that? Gilbert Gottfried was like, in Japan, they're very sophisticated. They don't go to the beach. The beach comes to them. And, a tasteless joke on Twitter that thousands of people liked. Perhaps unbeknownst to Gilbert Gottfried at the time, he was the Aflac duck. And Aflac did about 90% of its business in Japan at the time of his tweets about the tsunami they were dealing with.
That can't be good.
It wasn't ideal. So he did get fired. But the point is, there's nobody in that book, and it was an A to Z book, that was celebrating the death of a political opponent, because as crazy as it sounds, we were a better people back then. What you're seeing on the left now is the same type of poison, infectious groupthink that got the guy to kill Charlie Kirk in the first place. They were conflating speech with violence. And you need to understand, just so there can be no debate, okay, if speech was violence, that was the violence, then he'd still be alive. Okay, the violence was the violence. And I think we all know that as self-respecting people. But they're doing this thing right now all over the media, all over social media, saying, oh, people are getting fired just for talking about Charlie Kirk's death.
Wrong.
No, they're not. They're getting fired for celebrating it. Like, that additional context really has to matter in this moment, because if we don't have that objective truth, if we don't have that moral clarity, there really isn't a path forward. If you say you got fired just because you talked about Charlie Kirk, it's like saying we got mad at OJ because he dumped Nicole. I think there's a little more to it in terms of context in both the tweeting and the dumping of Nicole Brown Simpson.
I think he's got a point.
Yeah, the point is they're all full of and that's the biggest challenge we're dealing with in this moment. Okay, the Associated Press writing an article. After years of complaints for the right about cancel culture from the left, some conservatives are seeking to upend the lives and careers of those who disparaged Charlie Kirk after his death. They're going after companies, educators, news outlets, political rivals, and other they judge as promoting hate speech. As elected officials and conservative influencers lionize Kirk as a warrior for free expression who championed provocative opinions, they're also weaponizing the tactics they saw being used to malign their movement, the calls for firings, the ostracism, the pressure to watch what you say. Listen, there's no pressure, none, zero, zip, zilch. If you are a remotely decent person, there is no pressure to not celebrate someone's death. You shouldn't feel pressure. You shouldn't be like, oh man, I really want to celebrate this death, but now the pressure's getting to me. I don't know what I should do. No. It shouldn't even cross your mind. Okay, in a decent and civil society, which is what they portend to represent. They're the progressives. They're going to bring us to a better world where everybody's more tolerant and everybody's more accepted. No, they're not. They don't want diversity of thought in any way. Diversity of opinion, diversity of belief. They don't want that. It is literally, if you don't see it our way, you're the murderer. Okay, that's the point. The guy who got shot and killed last Wednesday is the guy they were calling the violent one, meaning the people who shot him. We can't have this guy showing up to campuses and talking for 2 hours, taking questions. That's violence. Okay, we're not going to tolerate violence, so we'll shoot the guy. It's like when the Democrats told us they were protecting democracy by imprisoning Donald Trump. Listen, we need to have free and fair elections. That's why we're jailing our political opponent.
Democrats are so full of crap.
And everybody sees through it. I mean, that's the good news. Like, I'm not on the air angry today. Things are trending in the right direction because society is condemning this. Because there's a difference between Gilbert Gottfried telling a joke about a tsunami in Japan and getting canceled and someone celebrating the death of a person whose political views they didn't agree with. Okay, understand, Gilbert Gottfried's tweets weren't being read by anybody in Japan. They were dealing with a tsunami. You could tell me they were tasteless, poorly timed, but this is the sad reality. If you were a victim of a tsunami, you were not checking Twitter back in America while it was going on. Like if your iPhone was still in your hand, you were probably using it as an oar. Okay, but as it pertains to the views, just the same. George Floyd thought it was okay to put a knife to a pregnant woman's stomach. The Democrats had no problem supporting George Floyd despite those views. So it's really not about the view per se. It's about the political ideology associated with it. Obviously, George Floyd's political ideology is kind of unknown to us. Seemed to be a big fan of fentanyl and, robberies and stuff like that. But I don't actually know how he voted or whether or not he was, trustworthy enough to show up and do so. The New York Times also publishing a report, by the way. I want to read some of this for you. The killing of Mr. Kirk, a hugely popular activist closely aligned with President Trump, was immediately met on the right by a tidal wave of grief-stricken rage on Wednesday afternoon, one that quickly turned into a thirst for vengeance. Several online social media personalities, some with enormous followings, called almost in unison for war to be waged against those on the left they perceive to be their enemies. The Washington Post ran the headline, "Workers are getting fired, placed on leave over Charlie Kirk posts," telling readers online reactions have become a litmus test for employers' tolerance for political speech by employees in public and private. Okay, yes, there's a lot of people on the right going, you guys suck. This is gross. This is the same type of rhetoric that led up to the shooting. You'd think you'd at least have the decency to call a timeout in the aftermath of the shooting. But did they actually do that?
The answer would be no.
But the other distinction to draw here is, yes, there's a lot of rage on the right. But do you know what there isn't? Stores being looted, police stations lit on fire, pretend countries established in Seattle like they did with CHOP. Do you remember that? Okay, there's a really big difference between how the two parties behave. And what you're learning in this moment is why the Democrats are as unpopular as they are. Most of their own people don't think this is okay. But the reason there's such an outpouring of anger and emotion towards the people condemning Charlie Kirk's death is because if you've been reading any of these charts, most of them are teachers. They're teachers and doctors. Okay, so they're teaching their kids that toxic ideology. Do you want your kid raised by somebody who doesn't have the moral clarity to know that celebrating a death is bad? In what world should anyone be anywhere near children if they think it's okay that a guy got shot in front of his wife, who was there, by the way? And there were 5 kids 5-year-old kids in attendance at that event. Just happened to be there with family members. Okay, in what world is that something to be celebrated? You shouldn't be teaching the future of America if you don't know how to draw the distinction between disagreement and death. And the same goes for doctors. Who's to say that this doctor might not treat a guy the same as he would treat somebody who voted the way he wanted them to? Do you remember when Ronald Reagan famously got shot? He had a punchline when he was being brought in to be operated on. And he asked as a joke, "Hey, you guys are all Republicans, right?" And all the doctors laughed. But back then, that was a funny joke. In the modern moment we live in, that's actually a question worth asking when you see some of the responses from some of these dirtbags. And I think that's the biggest challenge that we have right now. Is when you talk about this, we're not even in agreement on the characterization of reaction. Someone doing a dance and going, "We killed him." Someone posting a Dora Explorer meme and saying, "We did it." All of these doctors and teachers that are saying things I won't even say on the air do not constitute a discussion around Charlie Kirk's death. They, represent an outright celebration of what happened. Okay, it's very rare that anybody's going to quote Kid Rock as the voice of reason when they get on a show of this magnitude. But I guess I got to be that guy. Here is Kid Rock talking about the need to bring back nut houses. Clip 10.
I mean, and then they say to, Charlie Kirk, he's inciting this, he's inciting that. I'm someone who understands better than anyone as being a very vocal Trump supporter from day one. They've called me a racist Nazi for years now. Other people start to echo this. Just people who write dumb articles who think, I'm trash and I hate my music, and they say he's just a racist Nazi. And, this starts to build and build and build. So you get these nut house kids who are doing nothing but playing video games, watching these occult movies that are all over our streaming services, that won't go outside to play any sports or anything. And, then they think they're going to do something good. I'm going to go kill a Nazi. I'm going to go kill a racist. And they're literally mentally deranged. We need to bring the frickin' nut houses back.
I don't know how that's going to work exactly, but he's not wrong to say there are a lot of people out there that have been broken and desensitized to violence because they have been told it's a natural response to speech. Okay, if you truly believed, as many people in academia do, that Charlie Kirk's views represent violence, and there's no proof of that because it isn't violent to speak. He's not calling for violence. He's not advocating for some type of a physical uprising against people he disagrees with. He's not doing any of the things that were done to him. That's the point. So I don't know, that we actually need to bring back the nut houses. I don't know if we have the room in the nut houses. I don't know if we have the storage capacity for what we're dealing with on Twitter these days. But at the very least, people on the left could absolutely positively just use a mirror.
Bingo.
I want to make sure I get this intro right because my next guest wrote it herself. She says, joining me now on the program is a really big deal. The host of the greatest show in the history of the Fox News Network, Her Excellency, Lara Trump. Hey there. Did I do that right?
You left out one of the varies, a very, very big deal. But other than that, I think we nailed it. So thank you. That means I will be able to come back on again in the future. I appreciate it.
I was nervous because I knew they said they were recording this to make sure it was accurate, but we stuck the landing. Thank goodness gracious.
I record everything on a phone or otherwise with you, Jimmy. That's always a safe bet,
Lara Trump.
Can't go wrong.
Everyone thinks you're kidding. If only they knew. Oh, it's nice to hear your voice. What a time to be alive. Of all the things, there's so many different directions to go in. But first and foremost, how are you? How is your family? How's everybody doing?
I mean, it's been a tough week for sure. It's been a tough week, but you know what? I think that we're coming to a place where we've seen a lot of things that I think no one would have expected. Charlie himself, positive, come out of a horrific situation. The fact you've got churches that are full on Sunday, Jimmy, the fact that you see these incredible vigils across not just the country, but the world being held for this one man. I think it's incredibly inspiring. And I hope that people are brought back to a place of faith. And I think that is, the legacy that Charlie said he wanted to leave. And so, as awful as I think everything has been, I really feel encouraged right now based on a lot of what I've seen. So I think that's the only good news we can say.
Yeah, amen. I would give you that. Lara Trump is on the phone if you're just joining us. There's definitely a revival happening. And where I've found encouragement is in the fact that obviously there have been a lot of disgusting reactions to this, but these people are squarely in the minority. Meaning the market is correcting it in a lot of ways. Employers are firing people. And it's gross. There's no place for it. I'm not happy it exists. And there's a lot more of it than I expected. But I think that faction of the left that's lost common decency is being rejected in the marketplace of ideas. Would you agree with that?
Oh, 100%. I mean, what kind of place are we if anyone is able to condone, killing someone in the name of politics or disagreeing with their opinions? I mean, it's outrageous. And, to see sitting members of Congress saying things like that, I think you're right. I think the correction is happening, and I think it will continue to happen. And I would just warn, not that I'm in the business of giving the Democrats any advice on anything, but someone in their party already should have taken the lead on this and stood up, had a press conference, do whatever you need to do, get in front of everybody and make it explicitly clear that this is not how we behave and operate in the United States of America. That no matter what you thought of what Charlie Kirk said, it was wrong to call him a Nazi. It was wrong to call him a racist. It was wrong to call him a fascist. Those words have been so cavalierly used, Jimmy, over the past really 10 years in this country. And it's got to stop, because at some point you get these people who feel emboldened because they're behind a screen or a keyboard, and this kind of thing ultimately happens. It happened twice to my father-in-law. Thank God he is okay. Charlie Kirk is not okay. Yeah. He is gone forever. He's left 2 young children and a widow now. And so I think that, these people are going to continue to show themselves. And look, the Democrats have lost enough voters already. You saw that the voter registration numbers came out a couple of weeks ago. Over the past 2 years, the Democrats have lost, like 1.5 million plus voters, and the Republicans have gained more than the Democrats have even lost. There are people who are shifting parties. Their party's going to continue to lose people if they don't stand up and call this out for what it is and say the right thing at this moment. It's imperative.
I agree with that, Lara Trump, because when you really look out at the numbers, like more people like the new Cracker Barrel logo than the Democratic Party right now. Like, that's not good. That's
and it's horrible. That logo is horrible.
So bad. You grew up in North Carolina. Like, come on, man. And I'm like, listen, I'm glad they switched it. But I still watch videos of the CEO, who, by the way, looks exactly like the woman who stole the baseball from the kid at the Phillies game. But I don't want to get sidetracked.
That you noticed that, but yep.
But again, that's and this is what I think when it comes to their party having just a broken compass, because we've had this conversation before since President Trump was inaugurated in January. We keep talking about the Democrats fighting a lot of the wrong battles. And you had made this point earlier that no Democrat has decided to become the face of, hey, stop doing this stuff. We're better than this, which would seem like the most obvious position for anyone to take in any party. Like, you think about this, Lara. There have been Democrats that decided they were going to be the face that opposed a federal crackdown on crime. Hey, I'm going to get out there and I'm going to be the one who says lowering the murder rate in D.C. is bad. I'm going to be the face of that. And they've tried to do that. But no one thought of the obvious. This is such an easy win for one of those Democrats that's trying to stand out right now. I mean, on some level, are you surprised no one has taken this?
I mean, I'm shocked. I mean, the closest thing that I've seen has been John Fetterman.
Yep.
And it's kind of amazing because I said a lot of things about this guy when he was running. I wish that Dr. Oz had taken that Senate seat, obviously, and not John Fetterman. But for all, that got said about this guy, for the hoodies, et cetera, he is the most common sense person in the Democrat Party. He is a person who calls balls and strikes like they are and doesn't kind of stray from any of those lines. There's no nonsense with him. And I appreciate that. As an American citizen, I really appreciate that. But you're right. Look, you have this party now, the Democrat Party, is pro-illegal immigration. They're apparently, drug cartels who are trying to smuggle drugs into our country and kill hundreds of thousands of people a year. They are pro-crime, pro-murderers. They are standing on the wrong side of this issue. And if any one of them, if I were the head of the DNC, I would have come out before right now, but they still got an opportunity this week, Jimmy. Maybe they tune in to Jimmy Fallon every single day. I hope so, because it's a great show. I love it. And they should take the reins on this. They should lead the charge. They should be the ones to say it's time to come back to a place of common sense. It's time to put all this aside, because it wasn't too long ago that we could agree to disagree on things and not feel like it was a necessity to go out and murder someone in cold blood.
Amen. We're talking to the great Lara Trump, who knows how to read off the same index card I was just reading off of in complimenting this program. Well played. Well done. Lara Trump, is it true that when the president marked 9/11, first with a ceremony at the Pentagon and later at Yankee Stadium, is it true they wouldn't let you in the box for fear of how many Miller Lights you drink in front of those TV cameras?
Well, it wasn't the Miller Lights; it was the Natty Lights. But they're a little classier than that at Yankee Stadium, so they didn't really have to worry about it. As it turned out, they get the high priced beer in there in those boxes.
The idea of that is such a funny concept, though. There's someone in the box who's just smashed. Because I always say this about your father-in-law. Okay, this is real. obviously we know he doesn't drink. That's a famous attribute of his, is that he doesn't drink alcohol. But he dances like someone who does. Can you hear me out on this? Okay. The YMCA has had its own dance. You do the Y, the M, the C, and an A for as long as we've had the YMCA. And if you had a drunk friend that was not doing like if the YMCA is on, the drunkest person in the bar can do the YMCA. If you had a friend that was off in the corner just doing the hands, you would take that friend's keys away, would you not?
Yeah, he came up with a new dance for a song that has had a dance for decades, Jimmy. For decades, this song's had its own dance. That's how powerful and how cool Donald Trump is. He said, enough with this YMCA nonsense. I'm bringing something new to the table, and people love it. I got to say, you're right, though. You'd worry about your friend in the corner doing that a little bit. I'm not worried at all, though, because I love it.
No, he's fine. But by the time this is over, he will be walking to the Running Man somewhere on a dance floor. The guy just he goes
never know.
Guy goes his own way. All the dancers are different now. You know, the Dougie. Some people think the Dougie is Doug Emhoff, and they hook up with the nanny instead of doing the dance. But bang!
There it is.
That's the difference between 9 p.m. and 10 p.m. on the Fox News channel, right then and there. You're the classy show, Lara. You got that going for you.
We try.
We
try to have a nice classy show. We try to be a nice lead-in to everything you got going on. It's always good. And not only is the content great, Jimmy, I'll say this. I've told you this before. I've complimented this before. The outfits kill it every time.
Don't you dare. I will walk right up to wardrobe right now and play this soundbite because we just had
I love it.
Stop it. Listen, a lot of people like my clothes, but this is a concern, okay? This is really a concern, okay? Sometimes when you're hosting a show, you don't want it to be too loud, like too distractive. So there's like a fine line. And Labor Day weekend, last episode of the summer, I happen to have like a hot pink jacket that I love. That really, in all honesty, I know better. It doesn't necessarily belong on the air. But I walked out when I heard the applause fade from the crowd. I like literally heard someone shoot themselves in the control room. Like, what is he wearing? So I'd say for the year, I've got about 50 wins and 1 loss right now. Okay. And
that's not a bad stat.
Amen.
Stats. I'll take it. Yeah.
Thank you. If the Yankees go 50-1, we wouldn't even be on the phone right now. I'd be at a World
100%.
Series parade. Thank you, Lara.
Yeah.
You still got the fastball. Well, we can't wait to see you Saturday night. You were amazing as always, so keep fighting the good fight, pal.
Amen, my friend. We'll see you soon.
You better. The great Lara Trump. There she goes. There we go, back after this. You look at the political violence in this country, every single example they try to give you to both sides of it is kind of missing one key component. We'll discuss it in this hour, as I said, 888-788-9910. We'll try to get to some calls, but right now, let's just get right. Do it to it, as the kids like to say. Couple statements of fact, and you're probably going to hear this again when they announce the charges later in the hour. Okay, here is Spencer Cox, governor of Utah, telling you what they know about the shooter, clip 5.
What we know so far, there are a couple things that we can confirm that have been reported. We can confirm that again, according to family and people that we're interviewing, he does come from a conservative family, but his ideology was very different than his family, and so that's part of it. We do know that the roommate that we had originally talked about, we can confirm that roommate is a boyfriend who is transitioning from male to female.
So he was a bit of a lefty, but let's go a little further. Clip 6.
Went to my alma mater, Utah State University, but was only there for a very short amount of time. I mean, dropped out after less than 1 semester, and it seemed to happen kind of after that. After he had moved back to the southern part of Utah. Clearly, there was a lot of gaming going on. Friends that have confirmed that there was kind of that deep dark internet, the Reddit culture, and these other dark places of the internet where this person was going deep, and you saw that on the casings. I think I didn't have any idea what those inscriptions, many of those inscriptions even meant, but they are certainly the memification that is happening in our society today.
So that's the governor of Utah standing next to the FBI, standing next to local law enforcement, saying he was radicalized by a far left ideology on the dark internet, the Reddit culture, where this person was going deep. He put the markings on the bullets, meaning we know why he did it.
That is correct.
But here is the media telling you at this remote hour, we still don't know.
Journalism in this country is dead and buried.
And why are they saying that? I'm about to play 2 clips. I'll tell you why. Because they're more concerned about the cost to the Democratic Party's appeal than they are with getting to the truth of this story or making sure it doesn't happen again. They don't care. Okay, I played one of these CBS clips earlier. Let's just hear them back to back. Here's John Dickerson, clip 15.
5 days after Charlie Kirk's murder, the shooter's motive remains elusive. No writings left behind, vague secondhand testimony. That uncertainty and the risk of drawing sweeping conclusions suggests the murder may share similarities with recent violence not driven by an obvious political ideology. The FBI recently recognized a new category, nihilistic violent extremism.
You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
Okay, you just heard the governor of Utah tell you that they know. We know. The FBI knows. The sheriff knows. He was in these left-wing chat rooms. They were fantasizing about killing Charlie Kirk. Some of them said they were going to kill Charlie Kirk. And after they killed Charlie Kirk, they celebrated killing Charlie Kirk. This guy, before he surrendered to authorities, apparently went on Discord and said, hey, guys, it was me. I am surrendering to authorities through a family friend shortly. Thanks for all the fun we've had on here, which kind of validates the whole discussion around saying they were going to do it, fantasizing about doing it, and carrying out the actual heinous act of doing it. Yet there is CBS on TV saying, we don't know. I mean, who could even be sure these days? But here's another one, another CBS commentator. This is the executive director for the Institute for Countering Digital Extremism. What does that mean? They're a left-wing group that basically gets paid probably some NGO money, if I had to guess, to say right-wingers are the devil. Okay, when you hear I'm the executive director for the Institute of Countering Digital Extremism, that's a very fancy way of saying I'm funded by something affiliated with liberals to make Republicans look bad online.
We're paying in cash.
Here's his take, clip 16.
Are there recent examples that where some act would fit into this category?
Yes, in fact, 2 of the more recent school shootings, including the individuals in Antioch in Tennessee and Samantha Ruppnow in Minnesota as well, both had hallmarks of activity around nihilistic violent extremism. They were connected to individuals and networks online that promotes the idea of societal collapse and using any and every means at their disposal.
All right, let me jump in there. Let me just jump in there. So this guy wants you to believe that this shooting was done in the name of ushering in some type of societal collapse. I mean,
Come on, don't bullshit me.
They fantasized about him by name. They did not fantasize about societal collapse. They fantasized about him because of his very specific views, categorizing those views as hateful Nazi stuff. So the idea that CBS gets on TV with a straight face and says, no, we don't know. Could fall under that other umbrella just because the guy said he wanted to kill him because he's a transphobe and he hung out with he was dating a trans person and they wrote all of this video game jargon on the bullets that they shot at him. And this is, something that's shorthand that they use in all of these chat rooms just because he had the lyrics to this purportedly anti-fascist song they all sing as part of their Kumbaya thing. Doesn't mean we have any idea. I mean, for all we know, OJ killed Nicole because they had a higher electric bill than usual that month. I mean, it's bananas. Okay, but the point is, these are people, even at this remote hour, that really are part of the problem. What I mean by the problem, I mean our ability to have moral clarity. And the reason they don't want to shake hands on what moral clarity in this instance is just condemning the death of someone and acknowledging who killed him. Okay, they don't want to do that because they're afraid people will get mad at the Democrat Party for spreading all of this bile and hold them accountable at the polls in the midterms. Something you need to know, and it's the reason I'll never get into politics. Okay, 2 reasons. The first one is obviously the background check. I lived pretty hard in my 20s. I had a fantastic time.
My hobbies are fast cars and fast women.
There is a laundry list of women on Long Island and dudes that I gambled with and people I hung out with all over the country that are probably, like I am Hunter Biden. I mean, I just don't have the Ukrainian money. I just spent a lot of nights gambling with Ukrainians down at the Taj Mahal in Atlantic City, but I'm a mess. I tell you that every day. But getting past that, the other reason is there's just this part of me that actually cares about people I don't know. They don't have that. Most of these political operatives are just so hell-bent on getting power that ends just the means mentality means they don't have to care if they destroy lives or they deny society an agreeable truth. They don't care. Okay, for somebody to get on TV now, and say we don't know, guys, they're not only have they arrested and charged this guy, but they might arrest and charge his friends. Here is Dan Bongino on America's Newsroom talking about whether or not there's an extended network that was a part of this. Clip 4.
If this was a larger effort, there was any aiding and abetting, whether it be financial, whether it be someone who knew the specifics of it and failed to report that. As you heard the director say this morning, we as an FBI, our team, along with our state and local partners, are looking into that. We have a lot of technical capabilities, a lot of good investigative capabilities, where we can scrub that entire network, whether it's OSINT, open source intel, through social media that people posted publicly. We'll be looking at that. We'll also be dropping a lot of paper, a lot of subpoenas out there to take a look to see if there was any extended network.
Okay, extended network. Now, they know he was in these groups. They don't know who was involved, if anyone aided or abetted him. But the point is, it's settled law that he was shot by a leftist. But I bring this up, why? Because there's a poll out right now online that says nearly a majority of people think it was a right-wing shooter. Why? Because Democrats tweeted that all over the internet once this guy was caught for no other reason than they were trying to blunt the impact to their own political party. Like living in that world, like in that headspace for 30 seconds where the politics really are that much more important than the people, it's something that really does disturb me. Okay, Don Lemon's there, which is one of the reasons he's no longer employed by CNN. Don Lemon is so bad right now, he might become the first person to get fired from his own podcast. I played you a video yesterday of him out in the streets trying to goad a black woman into bashing Charlie Kirk, and she said, I can't go left on that one. You know, I'm not going to judge him. And we played that clip and had a laugh. Here is Don Lemon after that one blew up in his face. And here he is making the case that conservatives don't care about Charlie Kirk. They're pushing this for clicks. And in his worldview, maybe he believes this. I don't think he does. I think he's trying to be a provocateur just the same, get people to be pissed off and click on his garbage. And we might be playing into his hand in saying so. But if you want to take somebody at their word, yeah, it might be possible that Democrats don't believe you should care about a guy who was 31 with 2 young kids and a lovely wife. That you shouldn't care about a guy who is going on to college campuses and engaging in the kind of civic debate that Democrats used to champion in their party before they decided it was easier to silence dissenting views than it was to debate them. Guys, the Democrats don't have debates. They don't want to debate. It's the scene in Fargo. I'm not going to debate you, Jerry. I didn't come here to debate. Okay? That's what's going on right now in the Democratic Party. When Don Lemon says Republicans don't care,
you're a bald-faced liar, a liar.
Here it is, clip 20.
The thing that is so obvious about it, and I think is so disgusting, is that you don't really care. You don't really care about Charlie Kirk. What you care is that this is a moment that you can use for clicks, to boost your podcast or your streaming show or your radio show or your television show or your news show or your MAGA bona fides with the MAGA group or your political stripes, that you can improve it, or you can have a moment where you're crying in front of the cameras. You gather all the reporters at the Capitol and you go, and it's your fault, and it's your fault, and it's the left and whatever.
I mean, Don Lemon.
Garbage like you just makes me sick.
And do you see what he's trying to do? He is obviously trying to provoke that response. You're just trying to get clicks. You don't care. I don't doubt there are people out there doing that, playing into this rage cycle that's making the engagement pretty high. But just the same, when you show up anywhere near a television set right now and take a look at the hundreds of thousands of people at these candlelight vigils all over the country, I'm going to go out on a limb and say they care. They're not all podcasters. They're not all right-wing social media influencers. They're people that are mortified, horrified that this could happen in modern-day America. where we are supposed to be that champion of free speech, where the Democrats tell you coexist. Okay, think about that. Charlie Kirk got shot to death by somebody who probably has at least 50 friends with coexist bumper stickers on their cars. Remember, hate has no home here? That was not a right-wing thing. That was liberal virtue signaling. As Lincoln Failer famously said, my son, when he was on the show and he was 9 years old in the summer of 2020, he's like, everybody has, and hate has no home here, or a BLM sticker on their house now because they don't want their windows to get broken by the mob. He wasn't lying. That's a real thing. But again, when the Democrats were upset by things, we had to board up stores. And if we didn't board them up, they got rioted. They got looted. They got torched. They got burnt down. Summer of 2020, they started a pretend country in Seattle. Okay, and they did so on behalf of George Floyd, a guy who thought it was okay to hold a knife to a pregnant woman's stomach at some point in his illustrious career. Democrats had no problem, didn't want to cancel him for his views. But I guess what I'm trying to say is we got to this bad place where that corruption has made its way all the way up to the media. Okay, and that people out there are trying to mitigate the damage done to the Democratic Party because it's more important that they survive than our moral code does. And I'm telling you because I care, it is really gross stuff.
And I'm out here in the real world and I know what's right or wrong or bullshit.